What's going on, everybody? Just got back from the shop, working on the slide hammer a little bit. Kind of getting ready to get back on Kiwi's motor for the Mitsubishi, and still waiting on the head gaskets for this thing because they're special ordered. But I want to start getting this motor closed up. I know I've talked about it in previous videos about keeping the motor covered up when you're not working on it. That way you're not getting surface rust and stuff like that. Today I'm going to put in the rear main seal and put the oil pan on. At least that way there at the bottom of the motor is sealed up and we don't have to worry about any moisture or stuff like that. But anyway, the other day when I got finished with Barney and Ethan was working on his Honda, I went ahead and put the front cover on, closed the front of the motor up. Yes, I'm painting this Hemi orange. Most motors I build, that's the color I like using. And of course I make sure all the parts are clean and painted when I put them back on. The oil pan and painted black. And but today I'm just going to seal this bottom end up and get her closed up. You know, like I said, waiting on head gaskets. As soon as I get those in, I'll finish putting the new valve seals and springs on the heads and get those mounted up. He still needs to get with Holly to find out if we can get a longer injector for the Sniper EFI. That's right here. And the issue we're running into is the injectors are about almost a half inch too short. Now we can sit there, go a couple ways with it. We can sit there and see if they've got the longer injectors for their EFI setup, or they make an extension adapter so you can run the regular injectors, the 5.7, 6.1, 6.4s, whatever. And all it is a little spacer with a couple O-rings that snaps onto the injector, and then you can pop it up in and down, and it takes care of that. So I'm just waiting on him to figure out which way he wants to go. But like I said, for today, we're going to concentrate on just getting the rear main seal in and the oil pan and start closing this motor up. I do keep this motor covered. Usually got a bag over it. I also put rags over the cylinders and spin the motor a little bit. You know, that way there, we're not having a whole lot of surface rust going on. Everything is still clean. And 'cause I hate going back and trying to get surface rust off of a motor. And because you know this one here, it sat over at Tony's for a little bit, and then the project got put on hold, and so the block had a lot of surface rust in it. So I had to go and clean all that out, clean the cylinders out. So basically, let's get started. So basically, on the Gen 3 Hemis and some other motors now these days have what's called a one-piece rear main seal. I kind of like the idea. Now you can sit there, if you're rebuilding yours, you can get it separate. You can get just the seal itself and the seal for the back without buying this plate. I just find it easier just buying the whole thing. It's not that much more. It's already in place, ready to go. You know, so I like going this route myself. Also too, when you're joining the two together with the oil pan gasket, I always put a little bit of silicone on the end here. So that way once it goes in, we know it's got a good seal. That's the only point you need to do it on is here and here. Just like with the timing cover, same thing. You got a spot here and a spot over here, and that's all you need. You don't need to put a big old gob of silicone on it. The oil pan gasket also is the windage tray, so it's all one piece. That's why this has been sitting on here. I had a couple of screws holding it down for a while, so that way I get my pickup tube and everything in. So now we're gonna put this in, and hopefully I get it in on the first try, because with the engine stand, I kind of got to finagle this in. It's got a couple of alignment holes on it where I've got to make sure it's snapped in place. And another thing I do as well too, I also put a little bit of oil on the end of the crankshaft here, so it makes it easier for the seal to slide in. So once you get it about where you want it at, start working it on. And if the seal, if this little thing comes off, which it did on me, you can always go back. Put it back on. Make sure the seal is facing downward. Go around there a couple times. And line it back up. That way you're not pinching the seal as it's going into on the back of the crank. A little bit on there. Pull that off. And sometimes it might take you a couple times. Like I said, fighting with the engine stand. Like I said, guys, I leave my mistakes in my videos. I'm only human. And there we go. Check, make sure it's all in, all good. And now I'm gonna get the bolts. These are an 8mm bolt. They're over here. And there's 5 of them. But yeah, try not to rush. You don't want to mess that rear seal up. You know, sit there and get it all back in and get it mounted and get it fired up, and come to find out it wasn't on there right. Never put a seal on dry. So we're going to go ahead and finish tightening the bolts up. With these rear main seals with the dowels in them, or the alignment guides, you always want to get those 2 bolts in first and kind of go side to side evenly until it pops all the way in. If you just start going gun-ho on this, it will not line up correctly, and either you have a bad seal with it or it'll make a nasty pop and you can crack the housing. And yes, I know there's torque specs for everything. But I've been building motors long enough and been building these particular long enough. I know a lot by feel, so I know you technical guys that want to torque everything, go for it. Like I said in past videos, the main thing I torque on these things, rod bearings, main bearings, head gaskets, and cam bolt. That's it. Everything else for me is by feel. And I've never had a problem. So now we got that on. Make sure everything is lined up. Let's go ahead and get the oil pan on. And for your Gen 3 guys that are looking at the oil pan, it looks kind of strange. That's because this motor was actually out of a Durango. 4-wheel drive, and when Kiwi was doing his mock-up, we used this oil pan to do it with, so he has all his clearances and stuff he needs through here, so it worked out great for him. Now we're getting the bottom end of the motor closed in. Take my little 1/4-inch ratchet. This is also how I do my torque, is by my ratchets. Start in the middle. Just give it a little snug. Now also too on these, with the oil pan gasket / windows tray, it has metal stops in the gasket, so it'll only allow you to go so far. So try not to over tighten. Because you'll take a chance on stripping the bolts out. But as you can see, for the most part, I'm alternating. So that way everything's lining up, I'm not warping it. But as I get done with this, we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on with this motor. And hopefully get some update what's going on when he's going to get started on the Mitsubishi. He's been a very busy man. Like I said in my other video, he just got back from New Zealand. His father just passed away, so everything's kind of backed up right now. And the Mitsubishi bill is kind of on the back burner until he gets caught up with stuff at the shop. Also too, we're trying to get. He's wanting to get his Barracuda ready for the No Name Nationals. So that's probably going to take a little precedence. But we're still going to try to do what we can do. I'm just wanting to get this motor done, ready for him to go. And then once we get a time scheduled out, as far as where him and I get together, and he's done with all the fabrication on the Mitsubishi, then I'll come over to the shop and help him put this in. And so I'm kind of looking forward to it. The other thing is too, we're waiting on Waiting on him to figure out what he wants to do with the 440 6-pack. If he's wanting to get new pistons and rods and get that crank cleaned up, get all the chrome off of it and stuff, get it redone. Or if he wants to go ahead and go with the stroker kit. So hopefully we'll find out something on that. And of course I'm dealing with trying to get slag hammer finished up. Tony's supposed to be starting on the motor. So I hope here in a couple weeks we'll have that up and running. But basically that's it. So I'm just trying to do things a little at a time as the parts come in. But I'm also wanting to keep this motor dry for the most part. So as stuff comes in, I'm going to bolt it on. But remember guys, cover your motors up, soak them down in WD, motor oil, axle grease, especially if it's a bare block. So that way they're not getting surface rust and all that money you just spent on machine work and have to go back in and clean all that up. So basically that's it for now. I'm going to get back to it and I'll see y'all down the road.